You are about to learn the 7 ways you can become a better communicator than 99% of the human population. Let's go over those methods right away. This is something called the learning pyramid. The learning pyramid shows you all the different methods you can learn a new skill, and some are significantly better than others, but most people spend their time on the most inefficient way to improve their skills like public speaking and communication. Now, these percentages show just how effective these methods are. The first one is lectures. Now, when you go to school, when you listen to your professor speaking in class, what are they doing? They're lecturing you, meaning they're talking at you. You are sitting there passively listening to the information, and let's face it, not for a very long time because you tune out and then it just gets boring. You don't pay attention. So it's placing you in front of someone or something that throws information at you, and you passively sit there and you take in the information. And most people, let's face it, they're not very good at lecturing. Do you want to voluntarily sit in front of someone who tells you what to do and how to think? Probably not. It's not very entertaining, right? There's no learning happening because you're just sitting there idly. So 5% of effectiveness just from sitting there listening to a lecture. And unfortunately, this is what most education does, and we need to change that. Number 2 is reading, meaning you buy a book or you buy some textbooks. Let's say you want to learn how to be a better public speaker and you buy a couple of books. Yes, you will learn. You will feel like you're progressing because we think, oh, I read a book on this subject. Surely I'm doing the right thing. But there's something known as unproductive procrastination, meaning you think you're doing something that's moving you forward, but it really isn't doing much. I know people who've read 100 books and they say, oh, I read this many books a year, but I haven't seen them improve at all. They're in the exact same spot. That's because just reading is not a very efficient way to take in information. Now, the way reading can be useful is if you know what problem you have and you're looking for a specific way to fix it, you open the book, you find exactly what you need, you take that out, and then you implement it. If you can do that, amazing, good job. And we'll get into some of the other areas that touches on. But if you're just passively reading, let's say you want to learn how to play the guitar and you read book after book after book about reading a guitar, how much better will you be at playing the guitar if you've never picked it up? Just because you're reading from the books doesn't mean you're going to get better. So that's why reading is good, but it's not the best way to learn a new skill. The next method is audio and visual, meaning you are learning by listening to something or you are learning by watching something. This is why when you think about a movie from when you were a child, you can remember it, you can remember the lessons, you can remember the characters, the names, the plot, but you can't remember what slides your lecturer covered. You can't remember the last company presentation. They're really boring, right? So if you can have some visual, the one that I'm having right now, just to add an extra sense in there. Not only are you listening to me, you're also looking at me, you're also looking at what I'm describing here. So there's a visual element. And just when we have images and pictures, we're able to remember more. That's why one of the most effective ways that you can learn public speaking is by imitating, meaning you watch a video of someone that you really like how they speak, you really like their public speaking style, and then you just start to replicate it. Okay, this is how they speak. I'm going to say the exact same words the exact same way. Audio, visual, and you'll be surprised how well you'll do. When you think about babies, how do babies learn to talk? They learn to talk by listening to their elders, listening to people around them, and they take on their behaviors. And us as adults, we're no different. Subconsciously, we are taking that in. So audio-visual, much better than just listening to lectures or just reading books. Now, something that is 30% as effective is demonstration. Demonstration is when someone shows you how something is done. Let's say you are learning to dance. You want to learn a new dance move. And someone says, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to lift your left hand here, put it behind your head, and then do this with your leg, and then spin around and do that. They just tell it to you. You might not really understand how to do that dance move. Or if they showed you a picture of what it looks like, you might get some idea, but you don't know how those pieces come together. But if you replace that with a demonstration, meaning they show you, hey, here's how it's done. First, you do this with your hand, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then you go, I can't really dance, but you know what I mean. They show you each individual step and you can follow along. Now, the demonstration doesn't always involve following around, but if you can see someone doing something step by step, you can then replicate. If you're ever making something in the kitchen, you're cooking something, you might follow a recipe video and say, okay, he cracked 2 eggs, let me crack 2 eggs. Then he added sugar, let me add sugar. So you are looking at the demonstration and then you are replicating. And this is why this tends to be a much more effective way of learning any skill. And with public speaking, this is so useful because I'll tell someone, hey, here's how I want you to say the word. Try starting your speech like this. I will say it. Now they have listened to me, they've got an audio visual, they know what the demonstration looks like, and then they can practice it themselves. So this is why demonstrations tends to be a lot more effective. Show them how it's supposed to be done. All of these methods that we've talked about, these are passive methods. Passive methods meaning you don't really have to do anything. You just sit back and you let information come your way. It's not experiential learning. So with lectures, you're just sitting there and listening. With reading, you're sitting there and you're reading a book. With audiovisual, again, you're sitting there watching a movie or listening to a podcast. With demonstration, you're sitting there and you're watching someone do something. Can you see how you're not really doing something? Now, when it comes to public speaking, what do most of us do when we want to get better at something? This is what we do. We watch videos, we go find Yasir Khan, we listen to him and we say, wow, this guy's an amazing speaker. If I listen to him all day, every day, I'm going to get better. And yes, you will, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a while because you're just using the effectiveness of this method is just 20%. Even if I show you how to do things step by step, it's not as effective as the other methods I'm going to talk about that are more active. So let's cover those next. These are the active methods, meaning they require you to do something to learn. The first one of these is going to be 50% as effective, and that is discussion. Meaning you are with other people and you are discussing a topic. Why does this work well? Because this is you exchanging ideas. You share your thoughts, they share their meaning and how they interpret that subject. You reflect back on it and you're developing a better and better understanding. If you've ever read Sherlock Holmes is this detective and he has a sidekick by the name of Watson. And oftentimes Watson is saying things that are not correct. They're trying to solve a crime, but he's not really correct about his intuition. He's suggesting things are not right, but he says enough to get Sherlock thinking, and then he finds the right idea. So with discussion, when you get other people's perspective, it starts to connect the dots in your head and you start to understand things. And I feel like this is the missing component in education. They teach you things and you don't really know why you're learning. So for example, when I was growing up and I was learning trigonometry and how to calculate surface area, calculus, I had no idea why I was learning something. And if we don't know why we're doing something, we just don't want to do it. We don't have any incentive to do it. So with group discussions, you can add that context. You can learn about it from different perspectives, and you can just get a much deeper core understanding of the subject because you had a back and forth exchange with somebody else. So if you were just reading about a subject or just listening to someone talking about a subject, but instead of that, you went and talked to somebody else, like a friend of yours. Think about it like a book review. If you read a book, you might learn something, but if you and your friend both read a book, and then you had a discussion about what was useful for them, what was useful for you, that's going to help you learn a lot better. In fact, 50% as effective as some of the other methods. Okay, now we're getting to the 2 most effective ways. This next one is arguably my favorite, 75% effectiveness, and that is by doing. By doing, meaning if you want to learn to do something, guess what you have to do? You have to do the thing. Can you learn to play the guitar without picking up the guitar? No. Can you learn to surf without ever going into the water? No. Can you ever get fit without ever going to the gym? Well, you probably can't exercise at home, but you can get fit without exercising. You have to do the thing. So if you've been watching my videos for a long time and you're not getting better, or you've been reading other books and you've been interested in the subject and you're wondering, hey, I've read all these books, I have all of this understanding, why am I not getting better? It's because most likely you're not doing it. And let me share something with you. There is a big difference between intellectually understanding something, meaning being able to explain something and being able to do it. So for example, if I'm watching mixed martial arts, I can tell you which punch they're throwing. I can tell you which judo move they're doing. I can tell you what jujitsu position they're doing. But that doesn't mean if I step in the cage and if I'm having a fight with someone, my muscles know those mechanics, that I know what to do, especially when I'm under pressure, I'm tensed. So there's a difference between understanding a concept and having muscle memory. This is why if you just read about subjects, just listen to podcasts, you'll intellectually understand something, but you will not be able to do the thing because your body and your muscle has not connected with your brain. It doesn't know how to contextualize the information. I'll give you an example. I was learning public speaking and I was reading all of these books and I was trying to anticipate every problem that I might have. Okay, if I blank out, this is what I'll do. If I lose track of the audience, this is what I'll do. This is how I'll open the speech. This is how I'll close. When I got to the front of the stage, my problems were completely different because my body was responding in a way that I wasn't used to. My throat was getting dry, my tongue was sticking to the top of my mouth, my back started to hurt for whatever reason, the lights glaring at me were making me sweat and they were blinding me. Now I had all of these issues that I had no solutions to from the book. And the more I did those things, the more muscle memory I got of being on stage, experiencing that adrenaline, enjoying that process, that's when I started to get better by doing. So for you, you might not be stepping on stage, but how can you practice every single day? How can you expose yourself to getting out there and doing the thing you want to get better at? And by the way, if you want to get better in 10 days or less, if you want to significantly improve your speaking skills, I have a training down below you can check out in the description that will show you the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to their speaking and why they never improve and how you can improve just in 10 days. So just check out the description for that. So doing 75% effectiveness, do the thing you want to get better at. Now you might be wondering, well, what's better than doing? This sounds like the best case scenario. There's actually one more thing that's even better. And believe it or not, this is something that has made me very good at not just public speaking, but also social dynamics, because I will get clients who ask me about a variety of situations. How do I start a speech? If someone interrupts me, what do I do? If I blank out, what do I do? How do I get people's attention? I don't have enough time. What if I run out of time? What do I do? When I have to explain this to other people, meaning when I have to teach something to someone else, I have to first understand it so clearly that I need to relay it to them in an even clearer way so they understand. Meaning, if I can teach myself and I can teach other people, then the concept in my mind is very clear. So if you've ever tried to get good at math, and you try to explain an equation to somebody else, or if you try to explain something really complicated you're doing and you explain it to someone else, it will help your own understanding. And I realize this every time I'm teaching public speaking, and I tell this person, hey, try this exercise. And they'll try it and they will have a different response to the last person. I'll do one class one day, another class another day, and those two people will respond very differently, and I will learn by teaching them. And while I'm teaching, I'm not only doing, I'm watching other people do, I'm correcting them, I'm having a discussion with them as they're trying that thing out, and I'm further ingraining and creating depth in my own understanding. So if you can teach something to somebody else, if you can give feedback to other people on their speaking, if you can watch a speaker and just say, hey, this is what they're doing right, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, if you can just develop that awareness to teach yourself, to teach other people, you're going to get better. In fact, it is the most effective way. So all of these ways, let's go in the order of importance. If you want to become a better speaker, find a way to teach the things that you know. So for me, when I'm making this video right now, I am creating a deeper understanding of the learning pyramid in my head. I am understanding it better because I'm explaining it to you. Teach somebody else about it. Before that, what you can do is you can do it yourself. Try speaking, try practicing, try doing one single exercise every single day. And again, you can go to the description, I'll show you exactly how to do that. discussion. Find somebody else who finds topics interesting. Talk to them about it. Watch a demonstration. Now, this is all passive. You can go to YouTube, watch a demonstration, learn through podcasts or visual learning, and then read, or if you really want, sit in front of someone and listen to them lecture. These are all the things you can do, and I hope you implement them and become an amazing, amazing communicator.